12:05 in the afternoon, right here on 90.3 FM. It's Wednesday. That means it's Joe Steckler Day. Joe is not here with us today. He is having a knee operation, and I believe that's occurring right about now, if I'm not mistaken, Kerry Fink.
I think that's about right. And so it was good to hear Joe's voice on the car raffle promo leading into the show, our illustrious leader. So you and I will try to do our best to hold down the fort in Joe's absence today. And of course, we're wishing him excellent success. I know Joe has been looking forward to getting this knee thing working because he is the best spokesperson, I think, for seniors. He's 86. He takes a knocking and just keeps on rocking.
He sure does, and that knee has been debilitating to him.
It's been a tough thing, but I am excited that we have in the studio with us a really great friend of helping seniors, Jessica Villanova, with Enhanced Property Investments. And this is going to be a great show because we're going to talk about a lot of things. And in particular, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be picking your brain, Jessica, because you're such a good expert at things real estate, construction, helping people understand what to do with their properties. Sometimes as seniors, things shift fast. They have to move. And there's a number of television shows that we've had the privilege of doing together in the past, and you've just always been a wealth of information. So I really do think, John Harper, that we're going to have a really good show today. We've got some exciting announcements concerning the car raffle and also the Helping Seniors Foundation cruise. So we got lots of stuff to talk about today, John.
Looking forward to it. Should be a great show indeed, Kerry Fink, and with Jessica here with us, I think we'll be able to give our audience some good information.
We'll do the best to hold down the fort on behalf of Joe.
Right.
So for those of you that may not have had the chance to meet Jessica before, let's talk a little bit, just so we get that part on the table. You have a great business that you help people resolve property dilemmas. And I want you just to kind of introduce yourself, talk a little bit about Enhanced Property Investments, and then we'll work into some good questions from there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kerry. And as always, thank you for having me here. Again, Jessica Villanova with Enhanced Property Investments. We've loved working with helping seniors, and as always, we love to give any information, and I just love sharing anything I have that can help. And you know, there's a lot of different realms of real estate, and it can be a really confusing thing for a lot of people. So we like to be able to help and make it a little simpler and easier for everybody when it comes up. So my company is Enhanced Property Investments. We work with real estate assistants, various types of properties. We purchase residential properties throughout Brevard. And then we also help owners work through any issues they might be having, whether it does lead to them actually selling their property or not. Sometimes that might not be the best option for some people. So, we try to at least help people understand what their options are when they're dealing with a property and just see what the best outcome for them is in their current situation.
I was thinking about that. We were talking before with what you do, John Harper. I know you know this. If you flip across cable TV, you run across what you would perceive as on an HGTV or something as a house flipping show. And if you have a house, you've probably gotten a postcard in the mail, and it says, I'm so and so, and I'm interested in buying your property. And so when I first met Jessica, I thought, very unfairly, I would have to say, I thought, well, this is the lady behind those postcards you got in the mail. And then we start talking and find out there is a huge, huge difference between what's going on with that and the fact that you guys are local, you're experienced, you know what's going on in the market, and your job is exactly what your title says. You enhance property investments and you really bring up the neighborhood and work out solutions that really help people. And so, John, I don't know how much experience that you've had in receiving those kind of mailings, but it's really an interesting time to pull the curtain back and take a look at how this can be done correctly, because so many times seniors end up with a home and they we talk about it, we call it, I guess, politely deferred maintenance. You can't keep up your home the way you want. It maybe is the home that you brought up your kids in. And so over the years, there's problems that you just sort of live with. But if you found yourself in a situation where you've got to change, maybe you've got to move to assisted living, maybe you've got to find a different way to do the things that you do, and now all of a sudden you're trying to sell a home that isn't ready to be the polished apple on the market. So, John, I don't know if you have any experiences or run into people that have been through that. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is, and you're right, Kerry. First of all, owning a home, when you reach a certain age, can be overwhelming and lead to perhaps the homeowner making bad decisions. And I think with our guest here today, with Jessica and what her company does, they can help the homeowner and do the right thing. But let's, Kerry, find out from our guest what exactly are some of the things that that you come into a home and speak to the homeowner about that can help enhance their property.
Sure. Well, so the first thing we usually do is, like you said, go into the home with the homeowner. Everyone's situation is different. Like Kerry was saying, sometimes it might just be deferred maintenance, or sometimes it might just be where they're on a fixed income and, taxes, insurance, expenses go up over time. And sometimes we're ready for those things, sometimes we aren't. But then you need a new roof, and, you're talking $10,000, $15,000 that you might not have had on the side for that rainy day.
A new roof right there can be a deal breaker.
Sure. And in Florida, everyone knows rainy season like now, you wait to put a new roof on for a few months and you're talking a whole nother slew of damages. You have water coming into your house and those things can add up. And like you said, it gets very overwhelming where you don't know where to start. You don't know where to get the money to do things. And at some point, you might just want to walk away and be done with it. So sometimes that works for some people where, they don't have the funds to fix things. They just want to figure out, how can I get out of this property? And there's other realms to that also. So sometimes a homeowner might say, okay, I'm ready to sell this property, but I don't have anywhere to go. Or, I don't know what to do after I sell this property. So a lot of times someone just buying your house isn't going to help you figure out where to go next or how to work out your next step. And we've actually done that recently with someone who called us in from helping seniors. She was ready to sell her house and she didn't know what to do next. She didn't need to go into assisted living or anything like that. She wanted to downsize a little bit. So we were able to help her facilitate that part of the transaction as well. So it was all, one seamless thing where she could sell her house, get a new place to move into. She was able to move everything over very easily. We were flexible on the timing, so it wasn't like we were kicking her out where she had to get all her things out in a day, So there's a lot of those factors that add into the equation also, not just the condition of the property.
I was thinking as you were telling that story, I remember talking to a traditional real estate agent who was telling me about some of the hoops that he had to jump through in connection with what he called a double closing. Okay, so he's talking about somebody who was selling a house and they had to vacate the house because he was closing on his new house that same day. And so to facilitate making this deal happen, the realtor had to get everything out of house for the closing, but couldn't go into the new house until the closing happened. And one of the things that I've learned in talking with you is that you guys really are able to customize how you work together with somebody because you're actually dealing with the buyer of the house. So now you have the capacity to be able to sit down, find out what that person needs, and then work with them to make that happen. I remember we did a Helping Seniors TV program, and if you're listening to this program and you have access to the internet, I really want to encourage you to find that. We archive everything we do, the radio, the TV, all of that is available on our Helping Seniors of Brevard.org website. Again, if you want to grab a pencil, it's Helping Seniors of Brevard.org. And all those TV shows, you can find it on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page. But there's a great TV show that you and I did that you were teaching us that there's 14 steps, I think, in a real estate process, and how every one of those steps could be fraught with problems. But you, in the way you sit down with somebody, you simplify, you basically flatten all of that and get a lot of the insecurity and uncertainty out of it, because you could be ready to have a house sale and then you walk into closing and there was a problem with the buyer's financing and all kinds of things can happen.
Sure, that is true. So, like you said, financing can be an issue just in general. If there is something like a double closing, their other property might have a problem, which then causes a problem with your contract and your property, and just things that are completely out of people's control as a seller. So we do try to simplify that at Enhanced Property Investments. We try to make things where once we say we're going to buy your property, you know it's done. You can get some relief, and then obviously when we actually close, you can take your money and move on with your life, whatever that may be, move on to bigger, better things. So that's our goal.
Yeah, and another thing that I remember we talked about in that TV show, which was kind of eye-opening for me, is that when people say, well, what's my house worth? And the real estate agent walks in and gives a number, but that is like the gross number. And that has nothing to do with the reality of what you might have left after you complete that transaction, because, there's the real estate commissions, there's all the closing costs, there may be repairs that have to be made to satisfy the contract. And so oftentimes the number that you think might wind up, it's very variable, and it could impact things right down the line. If you have a plan, I have to be able to move to do this. I'm moving in with my kids. I'm going to an assisted living. I've got this situation that's changing. All that becomes very confusing and uncertain. And then let's throw COVID on top of all that, right?
As if we didn't need anything else to make real estate more complicated some days. That is true. And again, we at Enhanced Property Investments do also try to simplify those numbers on the back end, like you were saying. We have nothing against realtors. We have a realtor on our team also. But when it comes to us purchasing a property, we usually won't pay out real estate commissions unless it's already a listed property where they have an agreement from the seller side. So we try to save the seller there. We will do property inspections, but we don't harp on things once we see those. Those are more just for our purposes. We're not going to battle $100 over a doorknob and $50 over, a piece of tile. When we say our number, we say our number, and we're 99% of the time good to go, and that's it.
I was thinking, John Harper, when you watch some of these real estate shows on TV, and then people come in and there's all this like little last minute negotiation that Jessica is referring to, it seems like it gets very, very complicated to come out of the deal the way you thought the deal was going to work. Somebody ends up having to, the air conditioner now has to be repaired. Nobody thought about those things. Just as you see those shows and you think about it, I think an advantage that Jessica and her team brings is that they just simplify all that.
Well, some of those shows that you mentioned, Kerry, are kind of interesting. I think they build in a lot of drama just to make it more watchable, I guess, if I can use a word there, just invented. But nonetheless, there's a show. They're basically based out of Orlando, I believe. They're called, and I see it on Saturday mornings. It's called Zombie Homeowners or something like that. Are you guys familiar with that?
No, I love it.
No, and I have not had the privilege to see yet.
Perfect for Halloween, right?
Actually, it's a very interesting show, and they take homes in the Orlando market, and they buy them. They're homes that you would, many people would want to just throw a torch on them and totally destroy them and rebuild. These people do quite an amazing job with the homes that they purchase, and then all of the things that go into renovating that home to make it presentable to sell on the market. But check that out on Saturdays. I didn't mean to give a plug here to Zombie Flippers or something like that, but it's on. I can't even think at the moment the channel. I'll figure it out in a minute. But the point I'm getting at is, it seems like Jessica, your company really eliminates a lot of these concerns that Kerry was just mentioning when a person is interested in wanting to get out of their home, but there's so much involved. It's not as easy as saying, well, I think I'm going to move and I'm going to downsize. The list just goes on, and to someone who's up there in age or perhaps has health issues and as Kerry just said, dealing with the COVID crisis on top of all of that, it requires someone who can step in and kind of take over management.
Right, and that makes sense. And at Enhanced Property Investments, we do have obviously some experience with senior situations. But like I said, everyone's situation is different, but we try to use that experience to make it, again, a little bit easier. And then even just from our side, the way that we look at everything we do, even our remodels, like you said, you see these shows where they go in and they're fixing things, and fixing is a funny term because we see a lot of people go in there and you can paint over almost anything. Let me put it that way, but that is not how we work.
If it doesn't move, paint it.
Even if it moves, you just have to be a little faster.
That's funny.
But at the end of the day, we go in and we do things correctly. If there's something wrong and we're tearing out a cabinet and we see, the drywall's bad behind it, we're not just going to replace that cabinet. We're going to go back in there, check out the framing, check out the drywall, so when you, on the other side, buy a property from Enhanced Property Investments, that things are done correctly. And that's our goal and how we aim to do it. We use some of the greatest local contractors, licensed, insured guys who've been in this county for a long time doing work, and, more your hometown guy versus a big corporation that's coming in and doesn't care about quality of work and craftsmanship and
that's important.
And that type of thing. So, we try to hold all our contractors to those standards as well. And, that we try to just follow that throughout our whole practice.
That's very important, and good that you use local people to help our local economy at the same time. But when you get into some of these homes, once your company has taken them over, the original homeowner has moved on to some other property or situation. What is the goal then of your company? Is it to get that home as presentable as possible, or are you coming in at a lower number just to have the home looking okay, or do you really want it to look like it's a brand new home, a used home, but brand new as far as you can go with that? Sure.
And for any of the listeners, they can check out a lot of our before and afters and some of our current projects on our website at enhancedpropertyinvestments.com. We try to keep that updated with some of what we're doing and put some photos and descriptions to kind of answer that question also. But no, when we go in, we definitely are going for that higher tier of quality on the backside. What we like to say is we try to get to new build quality without the new build price on our back end. So, we are remodeling the full kitchens in most situations, the full bathrooms, flooring where needed, painting interior, exterior.
So you're not really cutting corners. You're really going in with a solid budget of money that your company wants to put into making this house presentable to resell it again on the market.
Right. Our goal is when someone purchases a house from us, we don't want them to have to be doing any kind of remodeling, within the first 5 to 10 years of them being in there. To us, then, what's the point of us remodeling it if they're just going to remodel it on the backside? And sure, everybody has their own tastes and whatnot, but at the end of the day, our goal is for that house, especially for all the major things like the roof, the air conditioning, the electrical, the plumbing. We don't want them to have any issues with any of that type of thing, in the first 5 to 10 years of ownership when they should just be enjoying their house, not having to worry about all those things.
One of the things that I remember too, whenever I check the voicemail and you get one of these scam likely calls and it's like, "Hi, I'm Bob. I'd like to buy your house at," and insert your address here. And they talk about, that's, I think, how house flipping may get a bad name. But in some of the conversations we've had, what you actually end up doing is you do exactly what your title says, enhanced property investments, because what you're doing is you're enhancing the neighborhood. And by that, what I mean is there's always a house in your neighborhood that probably, whether on purpose or just because whatever the circumstances are, is probably dragging the neighborhood down. It's the one that, clearly needs a roof. It's the one that maybe the garage door is hanging at an angle, or you can tell that house in that neighborhood. And I'm sure when a traditional realtor drives somebody by, that is probably kind of like having a black eye on the neighborhood. And what you guys do is you leave the neighborhood better than you found it.
Yes, and again, that is also, our goal. Like you said, enhance. That's where we really try to focus on that word because it does mean more than, just flip or just fix. There's a quality of actually making something better than when we started with it. And that is what we aim to do.
And it's funny because I know you've done radio with Joe before, and you guys are both like Navy people, so you have this whole lingo that you're able to have. But I remember Joe asking you questions about how you got your construction experience, and this is not your first rodeo. You guys have serious background of knowing how to do this, and I think it's probably helpful. We have a couple of minutes before the break to just kind of give a capsule of your own experience and how this came to be.
Sure. I actually have a degree in systems engineering from the Merchant Marine Academy up in New York. And I worked for about 5 or 6 years in that field when I first graduated. And we had experience with all realms of electrical, refrigeration, just structural, engine systems. And I used as much as I could of that transposes into houses, but we find a lot of it roll over. And again, just that work ethic of having the purpose of enhancing things versus just covering them up. I think that all, falls into the same realm where it came from my experience.
We're going to have so much more to talk about after the break, but I want to make sure even before we get there, grab a pencil because I'm going to ask Jessica to give the phone number and also the website address so people can start to learn more about the work that you guys do.
Sure. You can look us up. It's Enhanced Property Investments. The website is enhancedpropertyinvestments.com, and our office number is 321-351-3222. We're also on social media as far as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so you can look us up that way also by the same name.
Yeah, I was going to say, we just did a Helping Seniors update recently with your colleague, Brianna Goins, and she was saying make sure to check your Facebook because you guys have some interesting contests going on there too, right?
Yes, we do. We try to keep it fun also, and just another way to give back a little bit.
By the way, that zombie house flipping show, I just found it out. It's on HGTV.
Oh, okay.
On Saturday mornings. It really is fascinating to watch, as are a lot of those shows. But check that out. Here we go, giving them another plug again. But nonetheless, this is fascinating information, and we certainly want to learn a lot more about what your company does, Jessica, and how this whole process works. So, Kerry, if we can, let's go ahead and we'll take our mid-show break. And when we come back from that, we'll have more with our guest right here on the Wednesday Helping Seniors of Brevard. Joe Steckler again off today. Actually, he's off because he's having an operation right now. He's having a knee replacement. We certainly wish him well, and with today's medicine, who knows? He could be back with us again next Wednesday right here in the studio, Kerry.
Absolutely. Looking forward to having Joe back in the saddle and wishing him the well as he goes through all of this today. Indeed.
So we'll get back to more of Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm John Harper along with Kerry Fink, and we will continue right here on 90.3 FM. And we're back on 90.3 FM. It's the Wednesday edition of Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm John Harper. Kerry Fink is with me. Joe Steckler is off today. Joe is having an operation right now, I believe, Kerry. He's having a knee replacement.
Well, actually, this is one of the things that both you and I love about live radio, right? We get to have breaking news, and we have breaking good news from Terry Steckler, who is Joe's wife and also a great friend of Helping Seniors. And she says, well, I missed Dr. Sand's call, but he left a message saying Joe did well in surgery, praise the Lord, and then headed for the recovery room. So that was fast, and it's really good news for Joe, and maybe we will have him back on the radio because they tell me with these knee operations they want you up and moving right away, right?
It used to, yeah, you're absolutely right. It used to be you'd be in the hospital for a week, but I would imagine if all things continue to go well, Joe will probably be released tomorrow.
That would be awesome. I know that's the plan. And we were talking, as you know, there's so many things moving in the Helping Seniors world. We have the car raffle coming up. We have the Helping Seniors Foundation cruise coming up. We have the advocacy plans coming up. The Senior Resource Center efforts are moving forward our next thing is coming up September 24th, that we're going to be doing a seminar on open enrollment, and we're actually filming TV again here at the end of the month. So it's a busy time, a good time for Helping Seniors.
Let's for a moment, Kerry, before we get back into our discussion with our guest, talk about the car raffle, and let's find out what the very latest is on that.
So on October 10th, 2020, if you remember, originally we had set a date of back in April that was going to be the original grand drawing date for the Helping Seniors event, and then COVID knocked us all for a loop. We had no idea. They told us everybody stay inside for 30 days, and then we thought maybe in the summer it's going to be okay. And here we are. We're sitting knocking on September's doorstep, and we really don't yet have clear answers. It kind of depends on who you talk to. Technically, right now, we can't even have, if we were trying to have the grand drawing today, we technically couldn't do that with a public audience at the American Muscle Car Museum, because the governor's rules are a maximum gathering of 50. And if you remember, last year we had 2,000 plus people out there, set all kinds of records. So anyway, we're sitting down with Mark Pylock and the team over there. We're going to make sure that we do everything 100% by the book, but the car raffle 100% is happening October 10th. That is the grand drawing. So if you're going to get into it, then you will get your tickets at helpingseniors.com. One ticket for $25 or $5 for a $100 donation. And the car drawing will happen on Saturday, October 10th, 2020. Now, whatever happens with the actual physical event, there will be a provision. Worst case, there will be a rain check that people who have Helping Seniors tickets will gain an admission to the museum as soon as the governor relaxes the precautions. But right now, we're firm on the date, and we're moving forward as if everything is full speed ahead. The other thing that I do want to do before we get back into the show is, because it's kind of related, we had originally set up, as you know, John, and folks, if you don't know, John was actually the guy who got Joe Steckler into radio. I mean, when goes back to the Alzheimer's days, right?
It sure does, yeah.
That you helped Joe establish a radio show that they actually wanted to take national, right?
Yeah, there was a great deal of discussion, Kerry, about Joe and his show that he was doing back in those days for the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation. And there was a lot of talk about taking it nationally. I think at one point, one of the networks in those early days that we had spoken to was very interested, but it was before some of the technological advances that we have today, which didn't exist back then. They wanted Joe to move to Los Angeles.
Wow.
And to do the show from Los Angeles and originate the show from the network out there, but Joe wasn't interested in that, understandably so. So we just continued locally here on WMEL radio. And that started in the early 90s. And Joe has been, to this day, the longest running talk show host in Brevard County.
That is great to think about. And he's also probably the longest running senior advocate in Brevard County, too, because... So what I was going to say is, Joe, if you remember, during his Brevard Alzheimer's Day, he helped create that endowment that helped the organization to this day do the work. They call them Joe's Clubs. You know, everybody knows Joe's Clubs here in Brevard County as senior daycare centers that are helping adults that need a little extra help during the day. But the same idea Joe has always had, as you know, for helping seniors. And so on February 21st, we're asking the submarine commander, who spent a lot of time under the sea, to join us and going out to sea on the Helping Seniors Foundation cruise, which is happening February 21st, 2021. And this is really exciting and fun, because this is going to be on the brand new MSC Seaside, which is now for the first time ever sailing in and out right here from home port of Port Canaveral. So you don't even have to get on an airplane. You don't have to get on a bus. You don't have to do, drive down to Miami or drive down to Fort Lauderdale. You just zip on over to Port Canaveral, board the ship with lots of friends from Brevard County. We're going to be sailing the seven seas, well, at least the Caribbean. And well, you could tell us all about this, Jessica, with your background. But it's really going to be a good thing. And the idea is to get us really moving on establishing this Helping Seniors Foundation. And so we just did a big Helping Seniors update with Chris Morris, who is a travel agent with tons of experience. John, he is a travel agent that is actually special needs certified. So he understands what it takes to travel safely as a senior. And the thing that he was impressing me when we did the Helping Seniors update on Monday, he said, Kerry, when you get on this ship, he said, I assure you this is going to be safer than your own home because they're not going to take any chances.
Now, is this a brand new ship?
This is, well, it's not a brand new, but it's within a year or two of being launched. It's called the MSC Seaside, and it's a beautiful, beautiful ship.
What company owns that?
So the company is called MSC Cruises, which is short for Mediterranean Shipping Company. Now, people in the ocean world and cruising world over in the United States may not necessarily be that familiar with the name, but it is actually the world's largest freight line. So you'll see those containers running up and down the highway.
Yeah.
They're kind of yellow, and they have a blue MSC. That is literally the largest freight container company in the world. And literally dozens of years ago, Mr. Ponte, who was the original owner of MSC Cruises, he gave his wife, I guess, I don't know if it was a birthday gift or what, says, oh, there, I'll start you a cruise line. And so he bought several old ships, one of which was the old Achille Laurel. Remember that? So
yes, I do.
He turned them into cruise ships, and they plied the seas. And literally back in the 90s, he started a program of new builds. And so they have done, they built their first ship, the MSC Lyrica, and now they are literally like the second or third largest cruise line in the entire world. And the reason is that they're focused on the European market. So if you're over there and you ask them, that's a big name here, but they've been making a lot of headway into the U.S. market. And so now for the first time ever, they're bringing a ship year-round into Port Canaveral starting in 2021. And the MSC side is going to be like a home port ship for most of 2021. So we're excited that we get to introduce Brevard County to the ship. We've sailed MSC many, many times, and it's a fantastic experience. The ships, when I think about Italy, I'm thinking like Ferraris. They just have like a great eye for design and things like that. And that's what you get on an MSC.
No, I think of Sophia Loren.
Okay. Funny you mentioned that. When Tammy and I traveled to to Naples when they christened that ship, the MSC Lyrica, and it was literally their first new build. It was a huge step up for them. And I remember it was kind of funny because we were talking with the U.S. Vice President there, and he said, Kerry, he said, we're going to be the largest cruise line in the world because Mr. Ponte says we got to go big or go home. And so at the time, this was their first ship. They had been sailing around with 3 nice older ships. And I thought, that's pretty ambitious. And here we are in 2020, and where they are is absolutely fantastic. But the point of the story is, who was the godmother of the ship? None other than Sophia Loren. She broke the champagne over the bow of the ship, and it was a magical moment. They had all these little kids out on the pier, and they were all shouting Sophia and singing songs. I mean, you would think Sophia was like the just royalty there in
I would have
Italy.
been out there singing too,
So what does this have to do with with enhanced property investments, except that this is a great time to go sailing, February 21st, 2021. So Jessica, you guys should plan to come along too.
Agreed. That sounds like a lot of fun. We should.
Jessica, we've been talking here during the hour about your company. When a homeowner decides that they want to downsize and they want to get out of their property that they're currently in, perhaps they've been in it for a good number of years, what approach does your company take in making that process start to happen? How do you start to work out all the details on that?
Honestly, it first starts just with a conversation, just like we're having here. I know I say it a lot, but everyone's situation is different. So, You might have someone whose house is in good condition and they have a mortgage on it and need to work that part out of it. You might have someone whose house isn't in good condition, but they might not have a mortgage, so they're looking for, different paths to get to their end goal. And everyone has different end goals. Like you were saying, some people might want to move in with a family member and that's their end goal. So they're kind of catering what they want to do towards that versus, I just want to sell my house and get as much cash as possible and be done and buy another house or rent or, or move into assisted living and I need money for medical expenses, that type of thing. So our first step is always just having a conversation and talking, because we will sometimes have people who call us and say, I want to sell my house. And our first question always is, well, do you and why? What is your situation? Because you might think that your step to sell your house is towards your end goal, but it might not necessarily be. So, and I know that almost sounds counterintuitive because we want to buy people's houses, of course. That's our, part of our process, but that might not always be the best thing for them. So we always want to sit down, just talk, have an honest conversation. And sometimes it even takes a couple conversations for us to really understand what's going on, people's timelines, people's ideals, and what they're looking for.
What about, Jessica, if you have a homeowner, let's say the lady of the house, her husband is not able to keep up with the various aspects of home ownership, and let's say they need a new roof. A new roof, as you mentioned last half hour, could be anywhere from a minimum of $10,000. I know we just recently went through a new roof a year or so ago, and it was $40,000.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of money involved there, and you have to take out a loan just to handle the re-roofing. Tell you what, Kerry, there's a business we should get into. But nonetheless, so the lady of the house wants to stay in the house, but she's overwhelmed with all of these maintenance aspects that come with it. The air conditioner isn't working right. You mentioned earlier the garage door maybe hanging down halfway or something like that. It's inoperative. Is your company able to come in and handle the management, the maintenance of a home?
So we have tossed that around a little bit. Right now, our main focus is just purchasing the house ourselves, but we have thought of that as another addition because, like you said, there are some people who do just want to stay in their homes but can't handle the actual repair and remodel. That in itself is a job, just managing the contractors, as we know from doing it every day. This morning I was down to property in Melbourne, and tomorrow I'll be at another one in Port St. John, just doing that, just the handling of those guys coming in and working and making sure, electrical's done before the drywall and flooring's done when it needs to be and all those fun things. So,
well, you mentioned, Jessica, that your company uses locally grown and owned contractors, subcontractors. That's important. And because it's important in this day and age for a homeowner to realize that they've got confidence in what is being done in their home and they're not being ripped off. And your company has gone through the process of vetting the various contractors to make sure you're dealing with nothing but the best here in our local community.
Right. So at the end of the day, if it's something where we can even just refer someone over, if it's a single thing that needs to be done versus, an entire house remodel, we always say just call. We're open to sharing information. Obviously, we love keeping our guys working, and especially through all this with the economic uncertainty, we've been able to keep all our contractors working and, feeding their families. So at the end of the day, yes, people can call us for referrals, for ideas, even just to talk through what they are thinking about.
And they are licensed and insured, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Of course. Yeah, that goes without saying.
Yes.
So that's always comforting to know, because there are a lot of subcontractors out there who will show you a business card with a bunch of numbers on the back of it and make you think that they're licensed as insured. I know this from firsthand experience because it happened to me. And the guy showed me his business card, and here's my license and my insurance, and I almost fell for it. It's a good thing I didn't, because he was wanted by the long arm of the law.
Oh,
So,
no.
No.
Oh, no.
yeah.
Yes, we have had a lot of experience with that as well. And we've vetted a lot of our guys for a while. We've been in Brevard County 6-7 years now, so we've had some contractors come and go. That is part of the process also, unfortunately, and we've seen some winners as well. So
Anybody with a pickup truck is a contractor in Florida.
in Florida, yes, sir.
One of the things that I was thinking about is you really have been not only generous about helping people, but I remember we had this conversation that with a senior when they're approaching what they're going to do with their house and they're trying to figure it out. And I remember we talked about this. I said, well, they probably would call a real estate agent. I said, is there any harm in giving you guys a call maybe first and just seeing what your ideas and your thoughts are? And maybe that gives you a good platform then to start to decide what might be the correct next step. And I think you encouraged me and said that was, that is a good way to think about it.
Right. And obviously, I think any company might say that about themselves. But honestly, we do feel that way because with enhanced property investments, we're not trying to steer you one way or another. And not that, but from a realtor side, obviously they are interested in listing your property. So that might be where they kind of steer you because that's their ultimate thought of what is best for you. So we just try to take a step back and say, well, let's figure out what's best for you. It might be listing your property with a realtor, and that's fine. Sometimes we aren't the best option for everyone, but at least we understand that we're not, and that we want to inform people what their options are, because sometimes home sellers just don't know what their options are. Most people don't sell many houses throughout their lifetime. Usually a purchase and if a sale even occurs are a one-time thing for most people. So it's a new realm. There's a lot going on right now just with all the new regulations and things, and the process itself is a complicated process. So if you're not aware of things, even little things, we have sellers or buyers who come to us and they might not even know if they're on city water or septic system or sewer system, and they don't even know what those things necessarily mean. They just know, hey, there's water in my house and I flush toilets. I don't know. And those are just some things where we can kind of take a step back and say, hey, let's just talk through this versus kind of just brushing those things off and pushing them in a direction.
And I was going to say, John, that one of the things that I've experienced in the various interactions that we've had talking with and interviewing Jessica and Brianna is that they've been very generous with their time. They're very concerned. I think that's a term that Joe Steckler is always talking about, is people have a heart for seniors and making sure that we're looking out for the best interests of the seniors. Doesn't mean that a business can't do good business with a senior, but there's a line where your concern is for making it work well for everybody in the situation. And what I've really seen is, as opposed to maybe these flipper calls that people get, number one, everything that you guys do, you're local. You know this market. You have your ear to the ground. You came in actually before we started the radio show, and you were talking about things that were happening in terms of just in the marketplace here that you see really before anybody else does, and that you using local people. So this is a true make Brevard better kind of thing that you guys do.
Yes, and thank you for seeing it that way, because that is how we feel about it. My husband and I are the main face of the company. We didn't grow up here, but we moved here for a reason, and we really do like Brevard, and we want to feel like we are making it better. Enhancing, like we said, is a term that means a lot to us, and that's where we try to, again, work with people who have those same mindsets, and just that applies to the properties, that applies to the sellers, where we're just trying to make things a little better than people just passing through.
And how do people get in touch with you again? Let's go ahead and take this moment to give the phone number again. We still got time, but
sure. Our office is 321-351-3222.
Jessica, what about in a homeowner situation? How did your company handle the bond of a home? What's involved with that? Is that a typical type of transaction, just like a regular real estate company comes in and handles the title, or how do you take care of that?
basically the same way we were just talking about how we use the local licensed insured contractors. We do everything by the book. So we're using local title companies. We're making sure that title searches are done, that all of those things are completed. We're not signing paperwork in the back driveway hoping that everything works out and, giving cash under the table. That's not exactly how we work. We do everything very straightforward. And again, we also can talk a seller through that. They have the option of, if they also want an attorney to get involved, that's fine. We're open with that. We have a couple of suggestions we can make for those as well. And even if lending needs to get involved, we have local lenders that we use who are just familiar with the processes also. Because even from that side, sometimes we see that so many people are familiar with the standard. Okay, I'm a typical home seller selling my house, with a typical buyer, and that's it. And that's how a lot of people are familiar with transacting. But we get into the nitty-gritty situations where, okay, the property's been in probate for several years also, or there's a guardian, or, something's involved with a disability, or moving into assisted living that's kind of holding up part of the process. So we try to also use other team members who are familiar with multiple aspects just to make everything as simple as possible.
Or as you said, just knock 3 times on the ceiling, right? Isn't that the line from that song?
The back door.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. Yeah. But interesting information, Jessica, and it sounds like your company really has a great deal to offer our local community here on the Space Coast, and you operate throughout the Space Coast, right? And again, if people want to get further information and to get in touch with you and your company, what do they need to do? What's the website and things like that?
Sure. Definitely. Either way, they can take a look at our website. Like I said, we put some photos and things on there, just some fun information. But the website is www.enhancedpropertyinvestments, that's plural at the end, .com. Our office number is 321-351-3222. And that number after hours also forwards to my cell phone directly. So we try to always pick up the phone, even if it's, a little later during the day or a little earlier.
Even if it's 3 a.m.?
I picked
Jake
up
from
a
State
call
Farm,
at 3 a.m.
She's got some small kids at home, so I'm sure 3 a.m.
Yeah. We have 3 a.m. meetings at home every night.
Jessica, in closing, and we always like to ask our guests this, do you have a favorite success story, something that has occurred in your business with the people that you've dealt with that you like talking about?
I've talked to Kerry about a couple of these on the TV shows. One of my favorite ones was a senior situation where the woman was trying to move into assisted living. And I mean, when they called us, her timeline was yesterday. So we saw the house, did all the paperwork, purchased the house, went through all of her backside situation in less than 2 weeks, got her out of there, got her the cash she needed to move on. And then we even helped with a couple of things after. Like, we found some things in the house, and we ended up getting those all back to her too, some personal items, some photos. We always like to do those type of things also, and we got her exactly what she needed, and it felt really good because we knew that there weren't many people who could make that situation happen for her.
That was actually the other thing as you were telling that story. I remember you sharing that, and I was thinking, it's interesting because when you get that postcard in the mail that says, I want to buy your house and all that, this is the advantage of dealing with somebody who is local, who actually cares about what is happening and is able to sort of guide that process and make it a success for everybody everybody that is involved in it.
And one more time, Jessica, I know you just gave out the information, but for the benefit of people who couldn't write it down, your phone number again and that website.
Sure. It is 321-351-3222. And our website is www.enhanced property investments with an S at the end.com.
Excellent. Good information, Kerry. Good guest, and enjoyed the hour.
Yeah, it's always fun having Jessica because I learn something every time that we sit down talk. And I really do want to invite you, listener, to take a look. If you have access to the internet, YouTube, Facebook, any of that, find those shows. You can search it by Enhanced Property Investment, and you will learn a lot because you guys are really good about providing and sharing what you guys know about the market here.
That's good to know. And Kerry, again, thanks so much for your help as well. Good news on Joe Steckler and
Yes.
his operation. He came through that well, and one knee down, still one to go, right?
Yeah, we told him we're going to have you walking by the time we get to that cruise in February. So,
He may be running.
yeah, that's right. I don't think this is the ship with the rock climbing wall, so I don't think he has to worry about that. But the rest of it, he can enjoy.
All right, that's good. Thanks again, Kerry. We appreciate your help. Jessica, thank you, and we're looking forward to further conversations with you and your company. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much again for having me.
Okay. And you've been listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard right here on 90.3 FM, heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock, right here on WEJF 90.3 FM in Palm Bay. Our time is coming up on 1 o'clock.